You're listening to the Eurofolk Radio Network, and this is the Andrew Carrington Hitchcock Show with your host, Andrew Carrington Hitchcock.
Hello everybody, and today I'm absolutely delighted to have a very, very special guest on the programme. And before I invite my guest onto the show, I'm going to read you an article, a very brief article, which there's going to be a link to in the post for the show. It's from CCN Media. The headline is Stop South African Genocide, Secession Ceremony of King Cornelius at the Castle of Good Hope. On the 24th of September 2017, history was made as the King Cornelius III, the king of the original peoples of South Africa, being the Khoebaha nation, stepped forward to end the suffering and free the people of South Africa from the oppressive African National Congress ANC government. Conscious Consumer Network was live at the ceremony and broadcast the entire event, where a secession ceremony was held at the castle in Cape Town, South Africa, and the United States of Good Hope was brought into effect with the declaration for immediate secession by King Khoebaha Cornelius III, the rightful king of the royal house of the Khoisan nation, the first and only indigenous people to Southern Africa. Under this treaty, an agreement was set in place for a new government set up with the Eurokaner nation, the Afrikaner nation and the Coloured nation. In this declaration, it was established that the gross violations of human rights by the African National Congress government against the people of South Africa justified the immediate withdrawing from the Republic of South Africa by exercising the rights that exist under international law, African Union and United Nations laws. So I'm absolutely delighted to welcome King Khoebaha Cornelius III onto the programme. Welcome, Your Majesty.
Thank you very much, Andy, and good day to all the listeners.
Excellent. Now, could we start off, please, with the background to the Khoisan nation? Now, you are the monarch, so how far can you trace the Khoisan nation back, and also your lineage in your royal family there, please?
The first question is, how far back can we trace the Khoisan nation? As history dictates, or was written, is that we are the first people on the earth. That's what they say. We are that old. From the time of Noah already, we trace back our lineage. My family tree, I am the firstborn child for 16 generations, dating back to 1695, that is recorded. But it goes way back before that. So our culture says that the firstborn child of the king is the king. And we have been living like that for more than 300 odd years. And that is my heritage, that I am the only bloodline king of the Khoisan people for 16 generations.
That is amazing, and thank you for running through that for us. Is there any other elements of your family history that you'd like to share with the audience? Also, the actual location, the size of the land that your kingdom represents, for example.
Yeah. South Africa was divided in the very beginning. South Africa was divided into two kingdoms. You had the one below the Fish River, which is the Cape area, and the one above the Fish River, which is called the Khoi Clown dynasty of the Khoi. They were the big defenders, defending the Khoi land and Khoisan people from the colonials of the north. And the one below the Fish River was defending the colonials from the sea. And the one below the Fish River was Jan Jonker Afrikaner, and he eventually left after slavery was abolished in 1834, because when slavery was abolished, we still had to serve a 4-year apprenticeship before we were really freed. So only in 1840, he with his people left fighting all the way against the colonials up, and then eventually he settled out in Southwest Africa. And he named a place called Klein Windhoek, which is Windhoek today. fighting against the Germans and the Herreros and the Wambus and all the other colonials. If you go back to my other ancestry above the Fish River, called the Kai Clown dynasty of the Khoi, when the Xhosas or the Nguni or the Bantu people came over the Kai River for the first time, they met my great-great-grandfather. And they eventually signed a peace treaty with him. And then with the wars, you see, the Bushmen were people that were hunter-gatherers. And they kept that culture. The Khoi people were the herders and the cattle herders and the farmers. And when the Nguni or the Xhosa people, cattle was walking around, the Bushmen used to say it was food walking freely. And then the Xhosas went to battle with the Bushmen because they were killing their cattle. And the Khoi said, no, it's family, we have to forget about the peace treaty. And they went into war against the Xhosas. And there was a fierce battle. And then King Undora, my great-great-grandfather, was fatally wounded on the mountain called Ndaba Kadora in King Williamstown. And then his children, the firstborn son, left. And because of the colonials now taking over, they went through in 1840, he left and went through to Namibia, or Southwest Africa, and joined up with Jan Jonker Afrikaner, helping him fight the colonials from that side. In 1858, they signed a peace treaty at Honduras that they are the only two monarchs of the Khoisan nation of Southern Africa. And then Jan Jonker was killed, and his son Christo took over. And when Christo was killed, his son Jan Jonker Afrikaner took over. When Jan Jonker Afrikaner was killed, he had a daughter that he moved away from the war zone and sent her to a place called Darling, or Marmarie in Cape Town area. Now, Cornelius, which was from the Kai Clown dynasty, when he died, his son Barnabas took over. And when Barnabas was killed, his son Petrus took over. And then Petrus left and went to fetch Maria Jonker Afrikaner, and the two of them got married. And they were given a horse racing farm in Dordrecht, up above the Fish River, in lieu of his status as the king. And then when Afrikanerdom came into power in 1910, they took away the horse racing farm and chased them away so the people could be leaderless. And then they came down to Cape Town, where my grandfather, David Daniel Cornelius, was born on the horse racing farm. And he was cut under his feet as the firstborn child of the king. And when they came to Cape Town, he then married Henrietta Arendse. And their firstborn son was born, and his name was John Peter Cornelius. And he then met Theresa Magdalena Roman, and their firstborn son was John Calvin, then John Cornelius III, and that's me. So that is why the claim is that I am the only legitimate bloodline king of the Khoisan people, because of the two royal families that got together and married, and out of that is why I am called the third. So that is just a short synopsis of the history of the Khoi and the Bushmen going back from 1695 up until now.
Thank you so much, Your Majesty. That was very, very interesting information, and it really fleshes out the background to your family and your legitimate rights to your title and your kingdom. With regard to population of the Khoisan nation, how many people are we talking about as population, and what sort of landmass, square miles, does your nation cover?
Oh, I cannot say square miles. Somebody asked one day, where is Khoisan land? And we said from the Orange River to Cape Point, from the Atlantic Ocean to the Indian Ocean. And they said, the whole South Africa. And they said, absolutely. So Khoisan land covers the whole of South Africa, but also Southern Africa. The number of people, number of people that claim them to be Khoisan descendants in South Africa at this moment is in excess of 4 million people. So 4 million people are invisible people in the land of their ancestors because they've not been recognized as people.
That's very interesting. Sorry, please continue.
And people cannot believe that there's 4 million Khoisan people in South Africa, but I'm saying that that is only people that has identified themselves as descendants of the Khoi and the Bushmen. People are getting up now and saying, but I am also. Because we need to understand that, because if the first question asked says, who is Khoisan? And the answer to that is, when the colonials arrived at the Cape the very first time, they asked us, who you? And we said, I'm Khoi Khoi. And Khoi Khoi means men of men. And the people running in the bush, he says, oh, that's the Bushmen. So they named us Khoi and Bushmen. And later, Jan van Riebeeck said, no, you're now Hottentot and Bushmen. And when the English came along and says, now who are you? We said Hottentot and Bushmen. He says, no, you're non-Europeans. When the Freeburgers came along and says, now who are you? We said non-Europeans. He says, no, you're non-white. When apartheid came along, he says, now who are you? We said non-white. He says, no, you're colored. And when democracy came along, we were supposed to be given back our true identity, and it didn't happen. So when the colonials came here, they came without wives, and they consummated with the Khoi and the Bushmen. Out of that consummation was born Khoi and Bushmen. But the genes of the father were stronger, so the child came out with blonde hair, blue eyes, and fair skin. But the other child was me. When the slaves came over from Indonesia and Malaysia, they came without wives, and they also consummated with the Khoi and the Bushmen. Out of that consummation was born Khoi and Bushmen. But the genes of the father were stronger, so the child came out with sleek hair, sharp features, and a tan complexion. But the other child was me. When the blacks came down from Middle Africa and they saw how beautiful we were, they also consummated with the Khoi and Bushmen. Again, the genes of the father were stronger, so the child came out with dark skin, curly hair, and flat features. But the other child was me. But when the whites and the blacks consummated, out of that consummation was born a mulatto, which became the Griqua clan of the Khoi. So a lot of colored people are descendants of the Khoi. A lot of black people are. A lot of white people are. But it depends on who you identify yourself with and what culture you exercise. That is the one you identify with. And this is why I said earlier that many people are now saying, I am also descendant of the Khoisan people.
Yes, that's fascinating history, Your Majesty. And we have another guest on the line who helped, well, actually set this programme up, so I thank her very much. She's been on the programme before. Her name is Karin Smith. Karin, are you with us?
I'm here, Andy. Very nice to be here, and great to speak to you again, King Cornelius.
Thank you very much, Karin.
King Cornelius, I just want to interject here a moment. You talk about the colonials, but I think it's very important for our listeners to understand that you are referring to black and white, not just white colonists, but black colonists as well.
Yeah, I mentioned it earlier, Karin. I says the Khai Clown dynasty above the Fish River defended against the colonists from the north, which is the black people. And the Jan Jonker clan or dynasty defended the land from the colonials from the sea, which is the white colonists. So
yeah. Your Majesty, the entire secession depends on people understanding that there were no black people below the Fish River, none. They were the Khoi, and that was it until the white people arrived. Because if the world has not been told this history, and if they don't understand that, then the entire secession becomes not realistic. So I think that's a point we need to stress, that the black people came from the north and were a shock to the Khoi when they met up with them, because they'd never seen them before.
Maybe I should give an explanation of how the secession came about and what it entails. Let me explain something quickly first. In 1995, the United Nations became aware that the Khoisan people still existed because everybody believed we extinct. When I went to Geneva at the United Nations, they asked me, who are you? I said, I'm an African. which part of Africa? I said, I'm a South African. And they whispered, says, what nationality are you? I said, I'm Khoi. I'm First Nation Indigenous. And they bowed to me, and I didn't understand why. A few days later, I found out that they knew more about my heritage and culture than I myself. And then they asked, do you have lions roaming in your backyard? I said, yes. And they still believe that we walk around in skins and bow and arrows, and we're not 21st century people. But we need to understand that when the colonials came here the first time, from the north and from the south, they came because of opportunity. But from the north, they were hunted and chased and killed, and they came, and because they were warriors and angry people, they came and just took by force land. That's why many peace treaties were signed. When the colonials came from the sea, they came because of the mineral wealth and the opportunity and the wealth, and they came and they just took by force. So when the United Nations discovered that we're still alive, they informed our South African government that in 1997 that we should be acknowledged as the First Nation indigenous people of the land. In 1999, our government invited us to be part of the drafting of the white paper to include us into the House of Traditional Leaders that Nelson Mandela started. And we were excited. We sat there for weeks drafting this white paper. And eventually in 2003, the white paper became an act called Traditional Leaders Act of South Africa. And I went forward, I says, now where do we sit? They said, sorry, it's not for you, it's only for the black people. But you can benefit from the act if you have an association with the Black King. So immediately I go to the Eastern Cape above the Fish River. I go above the Fish River to King Zandile of the Khoebaha Kingdom. Now his great-grandfather signed the peace treaty with my great-grandfather when they came over the Cairo. And when I came there, he says, I know this land is yours. I said, I didn't come for the land. I come to re-sign a peace treaty that your great-grandfather had signed with my great-grandfather, and immediately he signed it. A few months later, they invited me back again, and they slaughtered an ox in the same kraal where the first peace treaty was signed. And then, with the premier of the Eastern Cape, all the MECs, 3 kings, all the traditional leaders went up into the mountain called Ndabakadora and gave back the mountain to me. They invited me to be part of the legislature of the Eastern Cape. They invited me to be part of the House of Traditional Leaders of the Eastern Cape. I said, thank you very much. But they said, but you need to move to the Eastern Cape. And then I found out that if I move to the Eastern Cape, there's no king in the Western Cape. And they had already planned to move the Xhosa king into the Western Cape. And I said, thank you very much, but no thank you. So I go back to government. I says, I fulfilled all the requirements that you asked for us to be part of the Traditional Leaders Act. And then they told me the act is now repealed. But we're going to draft a new act to include you into the House of Traditional Leaders. And every year they say the same thing, and every year they say the same thing. But we are not benefiting from it. Nobody listens. Nobody acknowledges us. We're invisible people. They even changed the coat of arms in acknowledgement of our ancestry for the country. And we have just become window dressers to the world and saying that, oh, yeah, we acknowledge them, but we don't recognize them as people. So in 2007, when the United Nations passed the Declaration for the Rights of Indigenous People, we were excited, and I went forward. I said, now you need to listen. You signed the declaration, including with 143 other countries throughout the whole world. And they said to me, you need to understand that there's no law in South Africa that says you are people, so international law cannot be applied to you. I was gobsmacked. I couldn't understand it. So again, they validating that we are invisible people. We are a nobody and nothing in the land of our ancestors. And in 2008, the president, Jacob Zuma, sent a delegation to my house and says, how can I help when I become president in 2009? And we were excited because we know that he's a traditionalist, he's a chief. And we sat down, we drafted letters and gave it to them. And when he became president in 2009, he ignored us. Phone calls, letters, no answer. I went to the Human Rights Commission in South Africa. I says, I have a problem. I said, oh no, you need to understand that the Human Rights Commission in South Africa only deals with South African human rights violation. We don't deal with international human rights violations. I went to the public protector, who is the watchdog of government, and I said, well, you need to understand that you need to speak to the minister. I says, the president made a promise and I need to speak to him. No, he wouldn't see me. And eventually, I went to the High Court and I got a case number. I couldn't believe it. I charged the president for cultural genocide. And we were in court and it was exciting. But now we are going to do something via the judicial system. And while we were busy, one of the lawyers sent by government came in and offered me 44 million rand out of court settlement. And I says, please explain to me, how do I divide 44 million rand into 4 million people? I can't accept it. And eventually the benefactor that we had government contracts. And after that, he lost all his government contracts and he could no longer pay our lawyers and advocates and senior counsel and anthropologists and political science students. So the matter's taken off the roll. So we keep on fighting. I go everywhere. In 2014, I was invited to the United Nations to receive the 20th Century King's Award of Achievement. And I also received the Congressional Award, Senatorial Awards, and other awards. And I said to the Americans, I says, you people are so proud to say, we're the land of the free, the home of the brave, but I know you still draw the line at the N-word. In South Africa, we say, we have the best democracy in the world. All men are equal before the law, except the Khoisan people. So for all these things happening and all these fights with government and drafting and marches and petitions and everything, and we are still the invisible people in the land of our ancestors. There's an old Khoisan saying in life that says, just listen for once to what we say, so that you may never be ignorant again. Nobody listens. But above all, nobody gives us a chance to speak. In 2001, the fisherman came to me and says, we can't fish anymore. They want to build a private beach for the very rich in the waterfront. And the politicians aren't listening. Please help. And I went and I annexed the land under international law for the benefit of my people, because for hundreds of years they were the subsistence fishermen for the Khoisan people. And I went to the United Nations and I read out the letter of annexation in front of 900 different indigenous people and all government representatives in the world. And up until today, that slipway is still available for the fishermen to catch fish. In 2003, a farmer bulldozed the ablution facilities on the farm and they called for help. Children that is 5 years old has never seen a toilet. And I went onto the farm and I saw the graveyard and I said, whose cemetery is this? This is our ancestors. And I looked at the gravestones and the latest gravestone was 1890. And I said, that have the people been living here on this farm for so long? And I said, yes. I said, well, then because the farmer is abusing the land, we need to take it away from him. So I annexed the land for the benefit of the people. Once I've done that, the farmer then realized his default and he arranged for people to get new houses. People's lives were upgraded, and that made a change. In 2009, government wanted to sell the mountain in Houtbay to build a 6-star hotel. And they wanted to auction it off to Donald Trump, Oprah Winfrey, Toku Sequali Foundation, Nelson Mandela Foundation, and all other big role players in the world. And early in the morning, I went up into the mountain in the rain and I knocked the board in on the mountain. And I says, I, King Khoebaha Cornelius III, annex this land for the benefit of my people to live on and to live from, on live television. And I went down to the auctioneer and I said to him, I need to inform you that whoever buys this mountain will be buying stolen property. And there's a law in the country that says it is a criminal offense to be in possession of stolen property. And nobody bought the mountain. A few days later, they wanted to have a private auction on the internet, and the media company called me in, ETV, and says, please, they want to have a private auction. And I made the same statement on television again. saying that whoever buys this mountain will be buying stolen property. And nobody bought the mountain. My people are still living on the mountain. So, doing all these ad hoc things for the benefit of the people, and we are still living in abject squalor. We're still living in poverty. Over the mountain where I live, the grandmother makes a pot of maize meal in the morning. And she stirs the pot, and she's crying. I said, Grandma, why are you crying? She says, ah, my child, there won't be enough food for all the children tonight. And I have no cash on me. And she goes to the back room, and she comes back with a newspaper, and she tears it up, and she's smiling. And she throws it into the pot. And the maize meal turns black from the ink. And I say, Granny, and now why are you smiling? She says, ah, my child, all the children will be able to eat tonight. And then I realized that my children are eating maize meal and newspaper for supper. And that is not acceptable. And then after hearing all the cries of my people, all the suffering, and hearing all the cries of all the other people in this land, with my council, we decided that it is time that we secede away from South Africa. And on the 24th of September, on the 21st of September, I signed a treaty where I reached out my hand to the Afrikaner people, to the Eurokaner, to the colored people, because I know the tragedy and the atrocities that they are experiencing today, or that they have experienced for the past 30 years, is but a drop in the bucket of what we experienced for the past 350 years. So we can understand what they're going through. So I reached out my hand to them and says, come, let us join hands together. Then on the 24th of September, I went to the castle and I read out the Declaration of Secession, where I seceded the Western Cape, the Northern Cape, and part of the Eastern Cape until the Fish River, for the benefit of all the people, where everybody can live in harmony, everybody can have the right to self-determination, where nobody's being told how to live, what to do, how to do it, and that you're not the right color to do it, and you can't get a job because you're the wrong color. We understand apartheid. We know it was wrong, and we suffered under apartheid. We are living in a reverse apartheid state. We are living in a country that is unconstitutional. It is evil. Because when people start eating children, when people start killing babies and raping babies, it is ungodly. And that is not our culture, it is not our nature. And that is one of the reasons why we seceded the land from South Africa to be called the sovereign state of Good Hope. People call it the United State of Good Hope. Yeah, well, we are united, but we're a sovereign state. A sovereign state means that we are all under God first. And because I am the king and because I am the custodian of the land and the people, I am not going to govern the land. That is not my responsibility. My responsibility is to see that the land is not abused and the people is not abused. Because we've had enough of abuse in South Africa. We no longer want it. We want to live in a country where everybody's free and everybody has an opportunity to do what they love and what they're best at doing. I made an example the other day. I said, can you picture the sovereign state of Good Hope in the future? I said we are an official country already, but we're not yet a legal country. But can you picture? The child gets up in the morning, goes outside, washes with cold water, gets dressed, walks barefoot to school, hoping and waiting for the first meal to happen. I said that happens today. Now in the future, child gets up in the morning, washes in warm water, have a breakfast, puts on his shoes, and go to school happy, knowing there's a future ahead for that child. Now, they are the future of the world. We know that. And these children in the sovereign state of Good Hope is going to go through life with no abuse. They're going to go through life happy. My wife showed me a video the other day of a man in a train with his iPad and his earphones, and he started laughing. And everybody's looking at him, and they started laughing. And eventually the whole carriage was laughing because he was laughing, and he wasn't even aware they were laughing. And it showed me the effect of what happiness does to people. I had experienced it myself. You walk down the road and you're smiling, and somebody approaches you and you say, "Good morning." With a smile, and they immediately smile. And when they pass you, their face turns back to the sadness that they experienced a moment before. So what would happen if everybody smiles? Where you have no fear of insecurity, where everybody has an opportunity to determine its own destiny because the right to self-determination is in their hands and the opportunities are available for them. So what we've decided and said, now, who's going to govern the country? We're not going to have political parties. No, we're not going to have. Because political parties are going to corrupt the people. We've seen that we've had lessons for hundreds of years about politics and how they corrupt. And we see it today, how politicians corrupt people and corrupt the government. So you say we have no politics in this country. Nah. How are people going to manage portfolios? In each portfolio, like for example, in health, we'll have a Khoi person, a colored person, a Eurokaner, and an Afrikaner. And they are going to be the heads of those departments. So when you have 4 people that's the head of a department, they're not easily corrupted. Because you cannot have 4 people and corrupt them together. Somebody's going to drop the ball. So we know that corruption is going to be out of the door. And no one person is going to be responsible for any department in the sovereign state of Kudu. So then, if each portfolio has 4 people that's responsible for them, everybody will have input and have a say in the way forward. And nobody will be left out. There will be equality for everybody will be equal, and that is important. And that is such a nice ring to it. Everybody will be equal. And we've been fighting for this for centuries, just to be equal. And then above the portfolios, we have the executive committee, which consists of 4 people. 1 Afrikaner, 1 Eurokaner, 1 Khoi, and 1 colored person. And those people are the people that is going to govern the country. And that is the beautiful part of it. And any decisions that is being made by them will be brought to the king and the king's council so that there is no more abuse in the land. So I've given you a short synopsis of what the sovereign state is all about. I hope I've answered some of your questions. Andy?
You have certainly, Your Majesty. It's fascinating, and it's a very, very good setup that you have. Because, as you say, if you give these 4 people, the Eurokaner, the Afrikaner, the Khoi, and the coloured person, the opportunity to basically run a particular department such as health, and then it will be run for the benefit of all peoples, not one particular person, and then they could come to you as king and present their proposals so you can make sure that these are actually not just workable, but they're not prejudiced in towards one racial group rather than another. And it certainly sounds like a very workable solution.
Let me just rectify you for a moment, Andy. They won't be coming to me. They'll be coming to the executive committee. The executive committee is the person between me and the portfolios. So the executive committee are experts in their fields. So every person that will be the head of those departments will be applying for those jobs with their CVs. So you'll have the best person operating that portfolio because they are qualified to do so. And that is the magic of it, because you now get the position because of your qualifications. And if you don't perform, there's 100 other people with similar qualifications that are standing in line to do the job. So you now know that you need to do a job, and you'll be paid according to the job that you do. There'll be no xenophobic, there'll be no buddy-buddy systems, there'll be no race classifications and job equity. Nothing. It's all about your qualifications, because we want this country to run at its optimum way, the optimum way it's supposed to run. People that know how to do the work must do the work. My job is only to see that the land is not abused and the people is not abused. Because what I know about economics is not as much as what an expert in economics knows. What I know about health is not as much as what the health expert knows, or even the justice expert, or even the environmental expert. They are that people that it is their job, they must do it. And they are going to govern the country to see that it works to the best for all the people that live in it.
And King Cornelius, could you let the audience know the current situation regarding the secession? How far forward are we that we can actually implement the systems that you just talked about and get the sovereign state of Good Hope up and running, as it were?
Oh, yes, I will. My advisor is the world expert in human rights and international law. And he has been guiding me. His name is Professor Winston Nagin. I think he's the dean or the retired dean of the law faculty of the University of Florida. But he's a Khoi. He was exiled in 1963. And he's been guiding me so that everything we do legally. And when I made the declaration, I said that this is a peaceful secession. And then a few weeks after we did the secession, Catalonia did theirs. But we don't need a referendum because we're a sovereign state. Catalonia is a political state. So the difference is there, and people can compare the two in differences. But the first thing that we need to have, and the first question that we need to ask ourselves is, do we have the land? And we say, yes, we have the land. We have the Western Cape, the Northern Cape, and part of the Eastern Cape up until the Fish River. Do you have the people? Yes, we have the people. We have about 15 million people in this sovereign state of Good Hope. And the next question was, did you do a declaration of secession? Yes, we did on the 24th of September, where I knocked the Poland to the ground and I seceded the land for the benefit of the people. He says, now, the next one is you need to have a shadow government. That if and when you become a legal state, you can immediately implement these things. And we're saying, yes, we have a shadow government in place. And then there's one more thing we need to do. Two things, sorry. The first thing we need to do is we need to get a sovereign state or a government of a foreign country to acknowledge what we did and sympathize with us. Once we have that, and we have sent letters out already to various governments asking for their support in what we did. Once we have that, we go to the United Nations and we ask to be observer status at the United Nations Permanent Forum. If we have more countries that support us, we can ask to be signatories to the United Nations. Once we have the observer status or signatories to the United Nations, we become a legal country. And then we can implement all the things that we have on paper and plan and strategize to put into place so that this become a legal sovereign state of Good Hope for the benefit of all the people that's entitled to be here.
Thank you so much, Your Majesty. And Karin, can I bring you in again if you have any questions regarding what King Cornelius has just said?
King Cornelius, so what is required now? You've got the countries that are willing to give the letters of acknowledgement. You're able to do that. So what is required now? What can we do to help make this a reality? Because as I see it, things in South Africa are getting worse by the day. There's no improvement with the elections coming up next year and the hotly contested stories going on there, the threats of martial law being implemented, the threats by Black Land First and the EFF to come for the land by any means necessary from the 31st of December. Things are not good in South Africa. And what you are doing seems to me the only hope for the four nations that you are representing. So what can we do? What needs to be done to make this happen in time to save the people of South Africa?
From September month already, Karin, and from September month already, we've been trying to get funds together to go to a foreign state or a sovereign state to meet with the president of the government or the king of that state and apply for their assistance and recognition for us to be acknowledged as a sovereign state. Because we're not acknowledged as people in the land of ancestors, we don't have money. We don't. And we've been standing for hundreds of years with hands, like begging bowls, asking people to give. And nobody has given. Even though we've reached out our hand to the Afrikaner and the Eurokaner and the colored people and says, this is what we're doing for all of us. Come, let us put our hands together. Even if every single person gives a 10 rand. But they don't have. My people don't have money. So they can't support me in my quest to free them of the plight of genocide that is happening in our country. We've opened up a website. We've got a PayPal system where we ask donations for the sovereign state of Good Hope to the whole world, and nobody gives. We've spoken to business people, and they say, well, you need to understand that the politics in the country and blah, 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 and nobody gives. So we've taken our flag at the moment, Sovereign State of Good Hope flag, and we've taken the crest, and we've made stickers, and we started selling it amongst the people. And they're putting it on their cars and in the windows of the cars so that we can start generating funds for our trip to the various countries so that we can become a legal sovereign state of Good Hope. That is the only thing that is stopping us from becoming a legal state is money. Unfortunately, we have to say it is money. That's the only thing stopping us. We are willing, we are passionate, we have the drive, we have the desire, but we don't have the instruments. So I hope that answers your question, Karin.
Yes, and then the follow-up question to that is that I've been getting is, so we give the money for you to go to the United Nations. Are we then going to have to get donations to fund the country after that? And you have the answer to that. So could you please tell the world the answer to that question?
Oh yeah, we don't need money from anybody else. The only money we need is to go to the foreign country, to go to the United Nations, and once we've become a legal country, we need to understand that only the Western Cape generates 185 billion rand in taxes a year. And they give that to national government. And national government gives them back 45 billion rand. And the Western Cape survives on 45 billion rand a year. Now, when the Western Cape has 185 billion rand, for the benefit of the people, then we'll be able to manage our mineral wealth, the natural resources we have, the capacity that we have in the country. It is so vast, it will be immediately implemented. I have a vision and a passion and a drive that I need to speak to my economists about. I mentioned to some of them, is that my desire is to give every eligible citizen or legitimate citizen in the sovereign state of Good Hope 100,000 rand for free to start off with. Firstly, to stop so that there can be no more hungry people in the sovereign state of Good Hope. That would eliminate the first thing. And then the problem was that, but the people's going to misappropriate the money. And then one of the economists said, he says, let me give them vouchers. But if we eliminate the poverty, we give people hope. So how the country is going to be managed? It is going to be managed by experts in their particular fields. They're going to know. They know. And they've presented it to me already. I can't tell you what they're going to do, but they know what they're going to do. So how the country is going to operate once we become a legal country, it's already on paper how successful it's going to be. It just needs to be implemented. So someone says, now, why don't you make a loan against the state? I says, the sovereign state of Good Hope has no debt. It's going to have no debt. has no debt. So I cannot make a loan against a country that doesn't belong to me. It belongs to all the people in it. So I have to ask the permission to make a loan, so I cannot use the country as collateral. One of my people said, but I have a 5 million rand farm. I'm prepared to put that up as collateral. I said to him, and he eventually says, how do you kill a cockroach with a cannon? I cannot put up a 5 million rand farm as collateral to only get 200,000 rand. And that is all we need, 200,000 rand to make this secession a legal thing. And nobody's getting it.
King Cornelius, that sounds such a lot of money, but if you convert that into international money, it is a drop in the bucket. Really, it is a small amount of money. It's 20,000 US dollars. And for that, we are creating a new country, which is a beacon of hope for the Western world, which is being inundated by foreigners, by African people who are destroying countries. So you are creating something marvelous. They call America the beacon on the hill, and I think that good hope would be that for the world. But it seems to me that everybody is sitting on the fence. They will jump once it happens, but they're not prepared to do anything to make it happen.
Absolutely, Karin, absolutely. I said to somebody asked me the other day, says, Your Majesty, what about religion? I says, because the country is under God first. All religions under God is acceptable in this country, but only those under God. And if we live by the values of godly values, and we exercise these values, somebody said to me, there's a country in the world that there's a law that says you must respect each other. I said, that is an interesting country, an interesting law. Because if there's a law that you must respect each other, there will be no disrespect. And when there's no disrespect, there'll be harmony. And there'll be love and compassion and caring. And we look at the world today and we see that there's nothing left in the world. There's no love, there's no compassion, there's no caring. And the sovereign state of good hope is saying to the world, we have it. It's here. If you want, you can come visit us, and you come and you buy a ticket. You say, where are you going to? I'm going to Good Hope. You're welcome to come. If you want to come add value to the sovereign state of Good Hope, you're welcome to come. Come add value for the way forward, for the benefit of all the people. Come. That is why it is our nature to stretch out our hands all the time. I'm often reminded of what my grandfather said to me. He said to me one day, he says, my boy fetched me a handful of sand. And I came back and my hand was closed with the sand in it. And he says, now, where's the sand? And I opened my hand. He says, what happened to the sand, my boy? I says, I don't know, Pa. He says, now go outside again and fetch me a handful of sand, but don't close your hand. And I came back. He says, did you lose any sand? I said, no, Pa. He says, when you keep your hand open, my boy, you never lose that which is inside it. You allow people to take out and to put in. So when your hand is open, you become a blessing to everybody. And this is what God expects of us as human beings, as mankind. To share, to be kind, to love, and to share with kindness. And this is the things we are going to exercise in the sovereign state of good hope, is to be kind to one another and share with one another. So I hope that answers your question, Karin.
Can I just jump in? Sorry, Karin. I just wanted to clarify something with King Cornelius. Your Majesty, I understand that you actually have to travel to a few nations that are recognising your secession in order to get that official, and also to the United Nations. Is that correct? Am I right or wrong there?
Yes, you're right. Even if it's just one country, the first country that gives me the letter of acceptance and acknowledgement, I will go to the United Nations, and all I have to do is go to the United Nations, present them with all the documentations, and apply for observer status, and then we're a legal country. That's all.
That's
If
excellent.
we get more countries, then we can apply for signatory to the United Nations. Because we need the rest of the world to assist us for the way forward. We cannot do it on our own.
Karin, would you like to come back in with any questions? I think we've got about 5 minutes left.
There's one other question which is asked of me all the time, King Cornelius, is what do you expect the ANC's response to be? So far, there has been none. They seem to think that if they just ignore you for long enough, you'll go away. But when this becomes reality, not if, but when this becomes a reality, what do you expect their response to be?
My people tell me I'm naive. My wish, this is my wish, is that when we become a legal sovereign state, my wish is that the ANC come and talk to me. I've been saying this for years, just come talk to me. Because they've been saying that apartheid was abolished because people started talking. Democracy came into power because people started talking. And I'm saying, let us live in peace and harmony. Let's start talking. So the South African government wouldn't even give us any media coverage. We have no media coverage in South Africa about the sovereign state of Budo. No newspaper, no radio, no television has covered the secession from the 24th of September up until now. The people hear about the secession by word of mouth and by social media. These are the only means of communications we have with the people is social media. So the saying comes again, just listen for once to what we say so that we never be ignorant again. And we're hoping that our secession is going to stay a peaceful secession. We're hoping, and that is my wish, that everything can be resolved by speaking and listening. A wise man told me one day, he says, we need to make wise decisions in life. But to make wise decisions in life, we must become quiet. Because when you are quiet, you can hear what people are saying. And when you hear what people are saying, you listen to how they say it. When you listen to how they say it, you know what they're talking about. And when you know what they're talking about, you can understand how they feel. And then you can make a wise decision. But to make wise decisions, you must be quiet. And this is why I'm saying my hands are stretched out to come, invite them, come talk to us. We will talk to you. We're willing to listen. And that is the way how we're going to govern the new country or rule the country, by listening to each other. And I hope that the people out there are listening to what I'm saying and hear how I'm saying it and understand what I'm talking about and know how I feel for the benefit of all the people, the 15 million people of Southern Africa, of the sovereign state of Budo, because we hope that with people's kindness and the generosity and the love for giving would assist us for the way forward so that we can become a legal sovereign state in the world.
Thank you, King Cornelius. And is there anything else that you would like to say to the audience before we close the show?
There's one more thing, Andy. Now that you've understand or know what we're doing or know what we're planning to do, I said one day to another traditional leader of another country, he said, I want to come help you. I said, if your heart is like my heart, come get on my chariot and come save my people. And I'm asking the people out there, if your heart beats like my heart, of love and kindness and joy and peace and doing good, being good to one another, and you want to help, please help. And when you lay your head down at night, when you talk to God, if you're calling, remember us, remember me, remember my people, that we can be freed of the plight of genocide in our country, and that this new sovereign state of Budo can be the birth for the world to see that there is hope and love and peace available for everybody.
Thank you, King Cornelius.
Thank you.
And do you have any details of the website? Because I really would encourage the audience to go to the website and donate to the PayPal to help make the sovereign state of Good Hope a reality.
The website is sovereignstateofgoodhope.org.
Excellent.
And the PayPal is Sovereign State of Good Hope, PayPal. But the link is on the Sovereign State of Good Hope website. So they can just go in there and then Karin and Mel are helping us with the website. So they have the expertise and the knowledge of how to do it. So with Karin and Mel's expert and input, Karin will be able to give you much more knowledge about the website than I can.
Thank you so much, King Cornelius, for joining me today. Thank you, Karin, also. It's been an absolutely fascinating show. And I urge all the listeners, if you want to help stop the barbarity that's going on under the government of South Africa, please help this worthy cause that really could solve so many problems. So I want to thank you all for joining me today. I'll be back with you all tomorrow, and bye for now.
You have been listening to the Andrew Carrington Hitchcock Show on the Eurofolk Radio Network. Andrew's book, The Synagogue of Satan, is now available on his website, andrewcarringtonhitchcock.com, in an updated, expanded, and uncensored edition.